Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sharon Bonney. I'm the CEO for the Coalition on Adult Basic Education, and I am delighted to welcome you to our segment today, What's the ROI? As well as we're going to have a virtual job fair for teachers. So I'm excited to turn this over to our partners at Tyson Foods. They have been just a fabulous partner that we've had for a few years now. As many of you know, they have this beautiful work-based program that they have there on their site, and they have been doing quite a bit of work looking at the return on investment for their program. So I'm now going to turn this over to Anson Green and Donna Davis at Tyson.
Thank you, Sharon.
You're so welcome.
Hello and good morning. I think it's morning for everybody. Good morning, everybody. And we're real happy to talk today. We have a real exciting kind of continuum of discussion combining this whole topic of return on investment and really why do companies want to get into workplace literacy programs? What's in it for them? What's in it for the workers and the students? But we're combining that with a pitch that we're looking for people to come join our wonderful collaboration with our adult education community and be a teacher for our programs all across the United States. So we're going to kind of give you a good overview of what we do, what we're all about, and how we work with adult education and family literacy programs all across America to bring education to the workplace. I'm joined here by Donna Davis, and we're going to do our little introductions here. If you don't know, I'm Anson Green, a senior manager at Tyson Foods, and have been in adult education for well over 20 years in a wide variety of contexts. You've probably seen me on COA webinars or other webinars. I have one this afternoon, actually, with links. And so I've been out there in a lot of different avenues, but real happy to be here with the Tyson team doing something that's really bringing learning to those adult learners that are hard at work, working really important jobs for America, feeding America, but really wanting to build their skills and get the ESL or get the high school equivalency, digital literacy, those kind of things in our plants. And so we're going to talk about that in more detail. But Donna, tell us a little bit about you.
Good morning, everyone. As Anson said, my name is Donna Davis, and I'm also a senior manager in our corporate social responsibility department at Tyson Foods. I've been with the Upward program since the inception, and prior spent a lot of time working in immigrant integration and in local community development. And so I'm glad to be here, and I'll kick it back to you, Anson, to get us started.
Okay. Well, we want to make a pitch, and we're going to come back to this occasionally about coming to teach for us. We are looking for teachers all across the states that we work in, and we're going to show you what those states are in just a second. So if you're out there and you're looking for a really interesting adventure, you've maybe been very interested in bringing some sort of economic flavor to what you're doing in the classroom, helping people build their incomes and build their skills, Tyson's a great place to do it. And it's not about working for Tyson, it's about working for an adult education provider like you do already. And so we work collaboratively with our schools and our local communities, and we build these kind of win-win partnerships that we're real excited to share with you as we go through. And I want to kind of talk about our context, and I love this picture. This is in our Garden City, Kansas plant in Finney, Kansas. And this is our Garden City Community College instructional class. As you can see, prepared for the pandemic. But these workers have been working on the line. They come in and they're getting an ESL classroom. And so you're going to see a lot of pictures of what our environment's like. I can tell you, having been pretty new to it, I've been at Tyson about a year. It's really exhilarating to be in these plants, and to be able to do some adult education work in there is equally exciting. When we look at our workforce, the one thing I always think of is it's not much different than the adult education student workforce or student community. We have a large number of workers in our states, and they come from all over the world. So walk into a Tyson plant, and it's like walking into one gigantic ESL classroom. Many different languages being spoken, very upbeat environment. And as you can see, about 60% of our workers are immigrants and refugees, and many of them have low skills. I'm always struck because it's like the tale of two cities when you go into a plant in terms of skills. About 12% of our workers have never been to school before. They have zero non-literate workers. And so we're doing real fundamentals on the Roman alphabet and teaching that kind of ESL, which I know many of you love. And then on the other continuum, we have about 10% that are college educated professionals that have come to America as refugees or immigrants. They are often very low level in English, but they have a lot of skills to bring to the company. And that's actually a project we're working on, is upskilling those workers into Tyson Foods. So it's a really dynamic place to work in. And that group, though, is not much different than the group you work with every day. We got a snapshot of one of our
So
plants
far,
here.
I've put in the organization code. The app has been working fine. It asked me for a DRC Insight username and password.
So we can
I'm in the
Someone
DRC.
mute,
our
please.
audience here. There we go. This is our Dakota City plant, just a snapshot of the size of the languages. So a little less than half English speaking, but then you just see this big swath of other types of languages. So it's just a real dynamic place to be in. When we think about our services, that's what I want to do. I just want to do a little jig there and get all happy about working in the Tyson plant. This is in our Waterloo, Iowa plant. Love that picture, and I love what we're doing. We offer two types of educational programming that have multiple kind of variations within them. Our Upward Academy program has been around over 5 years, and it's probably a name that you've heard before. This is our standard adult basic education program that we deliver with our adult education providers across the country. Largely ESL programs, as you saw from that workforce that we have, but we do have a high school equivalency, citizenship, a large digital literacy initiative that we're pushing out right now, and then financial literacy, so folks can be good stewards of their incomes that they're making at Tyson and really help grow financial stability in their households. And then we have our new program, Upward Pathways, which is our integrated education and training model. And as the name implies, this is all about growing within Tyson, building skills through an integrated education and training model to help get a promotion in a wide variety of occupations at Tyson. If you think of a Tyson plant, it's kind of like a small city. We have, of course, lots of maintenance workers and engineers that keep the highly advanced environment operating, but we have huge nursing staffs because these are big environments. Our plant in Finney, Texas has 17 nurses in it. And so if we find nurses that are internationally trained, we want to promote them up and use their bilingual and bicultural skills to benefit the nursing unit in the plant. And so it's a great place to grow. And that's a new initiative that we've been pushing out this year that has really taken off in many of the states that we're in. Kind of to summarize our kind of relationship, me and Donna and the other folks on our team are kind of in the middle. And what we do is kind of act as a liaison between the adult education provider in the local community, with maybe a community college, a public school, a community-based organization, and then the Tyson plant. So if you're a director out there or a teacher, you're not just thrust into the plant alone or have to figure this out on your own. Our team goes in and does a lot of the groundwork to kind of make sure that when it's time to teach, everything is set up. We've got the classroom, we've got the tablets, computer tablets in there if needed to do online learning. We've got the room set up and the schedules figured out, and then the workers show up. We find the workers too for the class. So this is a great environment because you can just parachute in and do what you do best as a teacher and go in there and teach. And we've kind of taken care of a lot of the homework on the back end. So that's kind of our role. And I always like to stress that because a lot of times people say, well, it sounds exciting, but man, I don't know anything about approaching a company and going in there and working. I can tell you, we just roll out the red carpet and you just need to come in there and kind of bring those teaching skills to those students looking for them. And I want to talk a little bit, Don and I are going to share with you kind of the instructional supports, because if I'm a teacher by training, I think to myself, man, what is the teaching environment like? Like, what do I have to go on? And what do folks want to learn? And so I'll tell you, first off, this is a picture here in Albertville, Alabama. And this was just taken the other day, but you can see there's a lot of computers in there. So there's a lot of augmentative learning with assistive technologies and technologies, and a great class going on out there with a fantastic instructor. And so we are really all about a big digital equity push, like many of you are. We started this well before the pandemic. But in our plants and in our adult education classrooms, we have over 1,000 tablets deployed that we bought, that we manage, but that the teachers use. And they have Burlington English and CASAS testing and TABE testing and all kinds of things preloaded. And so that's kind of like a tool that you can just walk in and that's ready to go in the classroom to fit your curriculum around. And we are not heavy on dictating kind of like what kind of curriculum you need to use in the plant. Teachers know really best what those students need. And so we're super flexible in terms of letting the instructors be creative, customizing the curriculum as they need be, and really kind of tailoring it to what's going to work best for those team members and what's and the strengths of the local community school. I can tell you too, think about the workers. You know, I've been working a long shift. I'm tired. If I'm going to go to an adult education classroom, man, I want that class to really be meaningful to me, to have content that's meaningful to me. And Anson Green doesn't know what that is. I'm over here in San Antonio, Texas. But the teacher is sure going to know a lot better than I am. So I really like to stress that the teachers have a lot of flexibility and a lot of input into what happens in the classrooms. And I know it's important for our instructors out there to feel valued out there in what they're doing day to day. Now I'm going to turn it over to Donna. We got a question real quick.
Yeah, we had a question come in. So what about team members who don't know how to use a computer?
Oh, man, that's the $1 million question. I love the question. Thank you so much. We have a lot of tech support and training to help our programs get acclimated to the computers. And if the teacher doesn't use a computer, we help the teachers get acclimated to the computers because we see that sometimes. But definitely, I think Donna's going to really review this in a minute in some detail. We don't go in assuming our workforce, because you saw the profile of the workforce, largely very underskilled, many languages. How do we deploy technology with that kind of workforce? We're going to talk about that right now because we do it very carefully. And it was I would say, one of the biggest areas that we had to develop a lot of custom content. So Donna, talk about, first off, how do we kind of bridge this massive gap in languages to help somebody at work and to get into class and all of that, and then help them get acclimated to the technology?
Yeah, thanks, Anson. You know, we have an exceptionally diverse workforce, as you've seen in the slides that Anson has shared. And, you know, a core tenet of the Upward programs has always been to meet the team members where they are. And a large part of that is ensuring that they have a clear understanding of what's being offered to them, how they can engage in the programming, and really know what to expect. So, we do that in native language so that there's no misunderstanding about what the team members are signing up for. And so, I'd say that we do this to help them make the best decision for them, but it also helps reduce that new student anxiety because, as Anson mentioned, a lot of our team members have never seen the inside of a classroom, or it's been decades since they have. So of course, there's going to be some nervous energy there. And so, having the top 10 languages represented in our interpreting support team, and Anson, you're welcome to forward to the next slide. We have a team of core interpreters led by Charlie on the Upward team, and they bring a lot of front end support to the teacher and to our adult ed partners. They assist with recruiting new students. And again, going back to the idea that we do that in language so they understand what they're signing up for. We don't continue that interpreting support into the classroom though. So for those ESL classes, please know that we understand that they're there to learn English. And so these supports are really meant to provide a stable beginning for them. And then also for us to have the ability to reach out to the team members and check in and see how they're doing, and understanding it takes a long time to learn English. And so we do that in their native language. And so some of the ways we do that support, Anson is flipping through our slides here, but I mentioned the interpreting services during recruitment. And that's a really beautiful thing to witness. We send the team into the plant and they've got bright yellow vests on, and they walk around and engage in a meaningful one-on-one conversation with as many people as they can. So it's a great way to get the word out about the services, and also just to generate some excitement, some encouragement for those that might be nervous. So it's a really, really exciting part of the work. And our interpreters bring so much to that. And we also have some real-time support. So that quick response when a team member has a question really helps with keeping the engagement, and our goal, part of what we do as the upward team kind of in the middle of the relationship here, is to help support the students to keep them in class. We're very aware of the importance of the retention of the student for our partners. And so that's one of the ways that we offer that support as well. And then, because of the language diversity and the literacy diversity in our plants, we do have in-language resources to help explain difficult concepts. So Anson mentioned our push for digital equity, and we've run into some significant challenges, as I'm sure many of you have yourselves, in those fundamental skills of the Roman alphabet, understanding passwords and how to use them. And so we try to create supplemental materials to help our teachers walk through these difficult concepts with team members to help reduce some of the barriers that they face getting online for the first time.
Excellent. We got a question coming in here.
Okay.
Jacob asks, does Tyson or do the plants offer benefits or rewards to the workers who take classes at the plant? You want to take a bite at that, and then I might have something to add to it, Donna.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I think one of the things that's most exciting about this work for us is that every plant is sort of its own ecosystem. And so the answer to that is that, yes, we see where plants offer some kind of incentive for the team member, or a reward, if you will. So maybe it's for meeting a milestone or for graduating. But we leave a lot of that conversation up to the partners to determine what's best for the students in that location. We have some that have attempted to do classes on the clock. We've seen varying success with that, but there are a lot of ways, and even just through celebrations, we see a lot of a lot of buy-in and support when the management shows up to the graduation ceremony in the break room and says, good job. So sometimes that is what's given to the team members, and it's a lot to them. Yep. So great question. And Anson, I'm sure.
I would agree. I mean, I've seen some of the plants, they do pay the individuals on the clock. Others will broker, kind of like, we'll pay for 1 hour and the student does 1 hour on their own. I've seen gift cards at the end of, getting a measurable skills gain or getting a high school equivalency, or a day off. I've seen also in some of the plants. So I think you're right in that kind of every plant has its own little way of getting there, but we definitely know those things do incentivize performance, because at the end of the day, these workers have done a lot of work already, and sometimes that extra push really helps keep them motivated. And I think we've really seen that these achievement-based incentives like earn it, get an MSG, or graduate to this level are ways that we really help with your retention and stuff. So it's a great question, Jacob. Thank you so much. I wanted to
Yes.
share a little bit about just one of the plants and reiterate, if you're interested in teaching, somebody asked in the chat, all you have to do is write ask upward at tyson.com, and that's going to go right to us, and then we'll get your message over to the plant in your local area. So tell us where you live. And you may know that the Tyson plant's down the road from your house or something. Let us know, and then we will connect you directly with the adult education director in that area, so you can kind of explore what those job opportunities might look like. But I can tell you, we're hungry for teachers. We're always looking for teachers. So here's our Omaha, Nebraska plant. We actually had a team up there last week. It's a exciting plant. It's very large, 800 people, a lot of different languages there. But look at the services that we have in this plant. So when we come in, we are really got a lot of a bag of tricks in terms of different options for students. And we sit there and do like you see in the picture here. We sit and talk through with the individually, sometimes in the break rooms during lunch, things like that, with the team members. We call our workers team members, and we ask them, like, what do you need? Like, what are your goals? What are some things you're interested in? And we hear a lot of ESL, but we hear some people, they'll say, I really want to grow in the company. I've been here for 9 years, and I really want to advance. I want to be a maintenance mechanic. What does it take to be that? And boy, we're going to sign up for an IET program over there in the Omaha plant if they say that. Many of them are coming for digital. The pandemic has thrown everybody into digital learning, and it's thrown our workers into being digital stewards for their children when it comes to public school. So we saw a lot of workers saying, my third graders now on online Zoom class. I can't help them at all. I don't know how to log in. Help me with passwords. Help me with all these kind of things. Or maybe they want to sign in and look at their benefits through Tyson's great benefit program for these workers, and go in there and look at their benefits and make some selections, or maybe go in and ask for a day off online. So they come in with a lot of different needs, but we listen. And so if you're a teacher coming in, we're going to be able to tell you a whole lot about that class when they come in. It's not like a clean slate where you're like, let's spend 2 days trying to find out about everybody. We're going to give you a lot of information to help you make your first days really meaningful and impactful, because you'll know what their goals are coming in. So I always love that aspect about us. We were out there for 3 days last week and talked to hundreds of people. And that's kind of what we bring to the table. Now we're working with the community college there, Metropolitan Community College, a fine institution, and they have the roster of students, and some of their support organizations do, working with them to start to build classes and kind of make some cohorts to offer in that plant. So that's that public-private partnership piece I want to stress with everybody early on, and you can see it in place over here in Omaha. A little bit, I got a video here. I just love this video here, but take a look at this. This is a great day in the life of what it's like to be at Tyson from our Upward Academy program. So I think this will say it all.
Starting English. One day I feel like my ears open, so I can understand what they talking to me. It's like when I was playing guitar, I don't know any note, so I start to just move my fingers, and one day when I know the notes, I can play music. English, same to me. Word by word, listen every day, and one day I put the letters together so I can speak my first words in English.
Love that message. I mean, that's what it's like. I mean, we got that story all over America, and we got that story with our teachers all over the place. Before I move to this, I just wanted to say too, real quickly, that was a pre-pandemic video, so no masks and all of that. Our workplaces, and I'm going to talk more about this in a minute, they are super safe environments. We have a vaccine requirement for our workers and for people coming into the plant, which I'll tell you more about. But We are real sensitive about that because we care about our workers and we want to protect them, but also because we're stewards of the American food supply, and we've got to make sure our plants can stay open so that you can have the food on your dinner table at night. But I want to turn it over. Donna's going to talk about something real exciting, and I love the whole topic of like what's in it for me in terms of being an education provider in a plant. And I always wonder, like, what's in it for Tyson, and does this really bring value? I think as educators, we always wonder, like, what impact are we having to our learners, but also maybe to other customers, like our business community and our community at large. So Donna, talk a little bit about these fantastic graphs and these exciting numbers here.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Anson. Yeah, I love that video too. And some of you may have recognized some of the people in it. But yeah, pre-pandemic. And you know, the title of that slide is why do we do this? So why did Tyson, you know, end up at this, you know, in this major partnership with adult education across the United States? And I can tell you, it started as a very grassroots movement in a local facility with a chaplain, community-based organization, and a literacy council putting their heads together to meet some of the needs that were being, you know, expressed by our team members. There's a desire to learn, a desire to grow in the company, a desire to have more stability in the community or more integration opportunities in the community. And so this grassroots effort started and we saw wild success early on. And we knew as a you know, as a company that Tyson, well, they want to do the right thing for team members and make decisions based on their safety and health all of the time. But we also measure for return on investment. We need to know if the programs we're offering are bringing a return, and if not, how can we adjust it so that it does? And we like to keep the benefits of our partners in mind too. And so on this slide, you can see we did some extensive research back in 2018 and 2019, so pre-pandemic. You know, it's been difficult to do anything with consistency over the last year and a half, but prior we had a lot of great information, a lot of great students. And, you know, we found essentially what we found is what we all know, that education pays off. It pays off for the team member, it pays off for the company. So I'd like to draw your attention to the red number. It's 137% return on investment. And so what that means is that for every dollar that Tyson invests in the Upward programs, and this doesn't include all of the AFLA funding that we are so grateful to leverage. This is just Tyson investment that we see for every dollar spent, that there's a return of $1.37. And you know, that those are the things we can take to leadership. This is a story you can take to other business leadership and say, you know, we've got a blueprint here to show that this works. And so, and it's intuitive, right? We know education lifts people and lifts communities. It's why we do what we do and why you do what you do. But it's really, really important for businesses to have the numbers behind it. And so this research, if you'll jump over and look at the pie charts, what you'll see on the left-hand side is in the research, we had, you know, sort of the entire pool of plants. It was 16 plants involved in this research study. And across those 16 plants, the average turnover rate is that number on the left, which my slide looks very small right now. It's 23.5% turnover rate. And with our control group, which are students, we found that the turnover rate is significantly smaller. And, you know, there's a lot of factors that impact turnover, but it's the topic du jour for companies all over the country right now because of the labor, you know, market issues and shortages. And so, you know, for us to say that we are helping retain employees is a huge win. And so, you know, and we know though that there are a lot of factors that influence whether or not a person stays. So we had some pretty rigorous analytic controls in place to make sure that what we're showing you is an accurate representation of the influence of this, workplace education on retention. But we wanted to validate that a little further with talking directly to team members. So if you look over to the right-hand side, we did a social impact survey, and we did a smaller sample size, about 200 team members at the time. And we found exactly what we had hoped to find, that team members that are receiving access to free, easy, free, convenient education at work, where they can just walk out, off the line and down the hall and into a classroom, it's actually making team members, want to stay at Tyson. They confirm that for us. It's improving communication with supervisors and within families. There's a really funny story of an older woman in one of the classes who said, now my grandchildren can't talk in English around me because I know what they're saying, for the first time. And so, these stories crop up, and you all hear them a lot, I'm sure, but that communication is so key. The team members report being more satisfied and being more loyal to the company. And so in our efforts to be an employer of choice at Tyson Foods, Upward really is, a table stake in that landscape. So we're really pleased with these results, and we know that, you can really tell a business with certainty that, what you can offer is going to bring great value to the workforce.
I love that. I'm going to adjust the slides here real quick, but I can tell you that that is some serious messaging that I think is so important for all of us to consider, because in adult education, we're often fighting for our place at the table. And we're always making the case that education pays off. We know it. This is why we're in the business. But there's a lot of discussion sometimes about, like, is this worth the investment? Or maybe you're asking for more money as an organization, and people say, like, well, tell me really what's the impact? And that's the one thing I think the relationship with Tyson brings to our schools and our instructional workforce is we've got some evidence there to help you make that case in your local community. And sometimes that's what needs to happen to really get that discussion going, and hopefully build more capacity in our local areas, bring more presence to adult education. Sharon, Bonnie, and Coeb do such a great job of marketing adult ed to at a national level and in local communities. And I think the private sector has a role to play in that too, because we live and die by our workforce and the quality of our workforce. And so having some evidence and kind of raising the credibility of adult education as a workforce investment in your local community is a tremendous story that we're really happy to join your community in telling. We got a question here from Julie. She says, if teachers are in the plant teaching, do they also have to be vaccinated? I heard Tyson is requiring team members to be vaccinated to be employed. Well, thank you for that question, Julie, because you anticipated my next slide, which is talking about our vaccine mandate. And this is one of the things we're excited about, because it's really showing Tyson as a proactive business community wanting to help end the pandemic and wanting to help provide our communities and our workforce a safe environment. But yes, teachers that teach in our plants or those that host classes that we sanction outside of our plants have to be vaccinated by November 1st. It's a new requirement that we are implementing right now. And this has to do for anybody that walks on a premises or does a sponsored program with Tyson. So our team members are getting vaccinated. I think we're about at 56% or something right now, maybe higher than that. And some of our plants are extremely high. I was in Houston the other day, and they were in the 70s or 80s, I think, at that plant percent. So we're working on it with our actual employees, but then our teachers that come in, our instructors that come in, our aides also have to have this attestation. And what we do is basically have the schools attest that anyone that they send to the plant will be vaccinated. So it is definitely a new way of looking at the world for all of us. But this is something that we're seeing every time I turn on the news. It seems like a new business is doing this to really protect the workforce. And for us, we are stewards of that food supply. We make a lot of the protein, beef, chicken, pork. We make most of the tortilla chips you get in restaurants. Nobody knows that, but we produce a lot of diverse food. And there's a real jeopardy that if we had to cut production, that we could really start to have impacts in the grocery store, and no one wants that.
There's
Donna, do you want to say something?
Yeah, there's a quick comment that came in that I would love to reiterate, and that, internally, we've seen all of the work that Tyson has done to create a safe working environment for the team members. These checks are still in place in these plants, especially after the deadline of November 1st for everyone to be vaccinated that's on site. These will be some of the safest places that you can teach. Your temperature gets checked when you walk in. You get a brand new mask every time you walk in. All of the requirements are strict. And so just a reiteration there about we're all concerned about our safety, the safety of the teachers. And so I just really appreciated that comment to remind that this is a really safe environment.
Yeah, I that came up yesterday. We were on a phone call with a school in Iowa, and rightly so. The instructors, the plant wants to restart classes in the plant. They've been doing some really robust online classes with our team members. But the plant manager said, "Hey, we want to move the class back in. We've got this great facility. It's more convenient for the workers." Of course, the first reaction from the instructor was like, "Man, I'm worried about the safety. I'm vaccinated, but that's a lot of proximity and a lot of people." And I reminded them, I said, like, I don't think you're going to find another place in Council Bluffs, Iowa that's safer to be than the Tyson plant, because we're going to be able to verify that 100% of the folks in that plant in November 1st are going to be vaccinated. So it's a real plus for those of us that are worried about health and worried about those kind of situations. And I know a lot of schools have opened up, and we've seen those impacts on the TV, and it's a difficult place we're all in. So it's definitely something I'm proud of Tyson, but it's something we're taking super seriously. So back to the teaching pitch, we really want to move into a discussion about, where do I go work? We saw somebody on here earlier asking about, do you have a plant in Dallas? And yes, we have a pepperoni plant out there, I think it is, that we'd love to get a class going up in and looking for that talent. So we're going to show you some maps that show you where we're located, and then you can start to get really excited about getting that resume ready and coming in and seeing if we can get something struck together with your local school in the area. These smiling folks are up there in Kansas, in our plant up there in Finicky, Kansas. So we have 4 regions, and we have some fun names that we call these regions because we got so bored with trying to name all the states. And so the blue regions we call the frontier, because they're way out there on the hinterlands, but that's Michigan and New Jersey and Washington State. And then we have a good southern group down there, the Sweet Tea region of the country, and that's our southern and southeastern programs. And then our oddly named, but we have a lot of fun with the Moar-Tex region. That's the Texas, Missouri, and Arkansas region. And me being from Texas, I was having a hard time calling it anything but Texas and everything north or something like that. But we called it the Moar-Tex region. And then we have the Snowy Place, which is our more northern plants there. And so we range that way. It shows that you can tell we have a little fun over there at Tyson and keep things upbeat for us. But for sure, and I see someone saying there, We have some more sweet tea than snow in Kentucky. So yeah, we debated some of these regions because there is a lot of snow in some of those regions. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with those naming locations. Thank you, Susan. So here are the plant locations in our Snowy Place region. So this is our Nebraska, Ohio, Illinois, Kansas, Iowa, and Kentucky and Indiana regions. And I see Indiana's actually missing one, and we had Portland in there too. So if you are living near one of these, and you may have to get a map because sometimes our plants are in areas that are pretty rural, and it may be located by a very small town that you don't even know the name of, even though you live there. We were on the phone with a state director the other day, and she did not know where in the state this little town was that we have a plant that has 2,000 people in it. And it's because sometimes our plants are located way out in rural areas, and that makes finding teachers difficult. And so if you know, oh gosh, I live right near that place, or maybe you don't mind the commute and you want to drive out there because you go there frequently for some other reasons, we do have some great locations in terms of doing this work, and some of the plants are just so exciting to be in, very large facilities and very dynamic. And then in some places like we got Council Bluffs, Iowa, we have actually two plants in that area, and we do have towns where there's 2 or 3 plants. Sometimes Storm Lake has a couple of plants over there too. I see we got another question in here, or no, Julie on our team says we need teachers in Amherst, Cincinnati, Claryville, and Hutchinson. So boy, there you go. There's some job opportunities out there for us.
Also, I'd like to claim the typo on this, that Omaha is in fact in Nebraska, but not also in Illinois. That is supposed to say Chicago. So there you have it. Yeah.
That's the Tyson team's late night work. We worked really hard to try to figure out how to show this to everybody here, because it is quite an adventure, and I think Donna did a fantastic job. So this is the sweet tea. And we have sweet tea in Texas too, of course, but North Carolina, Virginia, Alabama, and Tennessee, some fantastic plants out there, and some really, really good people to work with in that region of the country. And then we move over to the Moar Tex, and this is where we got really the most of our plants, because as you can imagine, the home town of Tyson Foods is Springdale, Arkansas. So by very nature, we have a lot of Arkansas plants, and then we have a lot of Texas ones because Texas is just such a big state. So lots of great work going on there in the Moar Tex region. And then Missouri, we've got 2 plants out there that we've been doing classes in that have been just really dynamic. So these are places where we just really would love to find your footprint in there and get you located. Our frontier is an exciting area with some plants that we're coming back around online on. Actually, these plants, for various reasons, had stopped classes for a while, and we are restarting them right now. So that is a hiring opportunity for those adult education providers we're working with in the local areas. And before I move on, I wanted to get another question there. Somebody from Dallas wrote in and said, how many hours a week? Great question. So you saw all those different plant locations. Well, count that many different ways that we have the hours situated in these plants, because that's about how many permutations we have of hours. We have plants where they're doing, I mean, I would say, to answer the question succinctly, the average would be between 6 and probably 8 hours a week would be the sweet spot. We have a few that do more than that. And of course, we're getting a lot of augmented learning online, because we have a tablet loan program where we may do 4 hours in the plant, and then the students take their Microsoft Surface Go tablets home and jump on Burlington English and do some more augmented instruction after hours. We don't really have many plants that do much less than 6 hours because we're just not getting enough intensity at that time. I think there was some other questions coming in here.
Yeah, one, Anson, I can jump in and
Yeah,
help you here. That
sure.
one is about what is the pay per hour?
Mhm. Oh, the pay per hour is, I would say, one of these things that, of course, really spans the gamut there. I would even pretend to be able to give you a range, but I would give you one anyway. And I would say it's probably the lowest I think I've ever heard was like $14 or $15 an hour. And then I've heard in some places we have full-time instructors that are teaching, so they're probably getting paid, $20 or $30 an hour. And what that rate, that's not a rate that we set at Tyson. That's the rate that the local school sets. And like I said, these are school districts. Largely, they're community colleges, not exclusively. And so you go teach over there, and you're kind of part of that workforce, and are getting paid the wages and receiving the commensurate benefits for that area. And I think that is the end of the slideshow for us. So we would be happy to take some more questions. This has been a real exciting presentation. I've really enjoyed kind of the banter that we've had in the chat. And we're wondering if there are any more questions coming in from folks. Yes, Vineland, New Jersey, someone posted there. We have a plant there that we are just now ramping up, and that's one that we are definitely going to be looking for a good instructional workforce, and would love to get your feedback there. Where are you planning to share about the ROI piece Tyson has published? Donna, I think that's a good one for you.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Sure.
We're happy to just share out we've got the public facing report available. Happy to share that through COAB with Sharon Bonney. I know she's always so willing to help us get information out. So we can do it that way, and perhaps it'll be posted. Sharon, do you want to jump in with that answer too?
I would love to jump in. So this is something that when I visited your plant 2 or 3 years ago, it was a while ago. I remember at that time meeting with some of your staff, and there was discussions at that time about this ROI piece and the work, the meticulous work that was going into making sure that what was published was very sound and research based. And I recalled like the multiple different levers that were in place to make sure that this was going to be something that was really well done. So I'm very excited about this. I cannot wait to see it. Donna and Anson can tell you I've asked about it a few times because I just think this is something that funders are going to love, right? When they see the results of the work that you all have been doing. And it's something that on our end, we know intuitively that there's a great return on investment when you invest into adult education. And if you tune in today at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time, you'll hear about the longitudinal study that COAB is going to be embarking on. But we would love to see the research that Tyson has done. So Donna, when you share that with me, I'll be sure to get it out to the entire membership, and we are happy to link to it on our website as well.
Thank you, Sharon. And we're really excited about the next phase of our research and evaluation too. We're really building capacity to collect more data and analyze more data, and to have some really exciting new metrics to report back out. So that's just sort of a stay tuned on that one too.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I know these things take a long time, and there's a lot of different baselines in place to make sure that it's well done. So thank you for all your work on that.
Absolutely. I think the other phase of the research that we're going to be providing through our Pathways program has to do with career advancement. That is such a huge discussion point in states and local communities, especially communities that have large underskilled populations. I used to be the state director in Texas, so the discussion was always about growing that large limited English proficient workforce into higher paying jobs. And so I think as our Pathways program rolls out, we'll have some good ROI data on that investment and what that looks like in basically growing your own within the company, which is kind of a very unique topic in itself. So Sharon, we're going to hand
Great.
it back over to you. I know you had some
Great.
closing
Okay.
slides, and we're excited about your sessions later on today also.
Well, I just want to, say first of all, I'm so grateful to Tyson. It's been a wonderful partnership we've had for years now. We really appreciate the work that you're doing right there on the ground, really equipping the adult learners. And I remember hearing the original story, talking to Kevin Shearer and hearing why it was started. And it came really from a place of the management wanted to make sure the adult learners had what they needed so that they would be able to communicate with each other, so that they would be able to move up the ranks, right, in their jobs. And I fell in love with the Tyson plant that I visited and thought it was so interesting and remarkable, the work that you all are doing. So thank you for your work there. Really appreciate it. And thank you for this job fair as well.
Thank you,
So
Sharon.
you're welcome. You're welcome. And I do see a few questions there, Anson, in the Q&A. So as I'll go through these other slides real quickly and we can circle
Sure.
back to the questions. Okay, great. So later today, in fact, at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we're going to recognize the wonderful Congressman Todd Young of Indiana, who's been an outstanding champion for adult education, as well as Mayor Aaron Mendenhall, who is also at the local level there, a champion for adult education. So I want to encourage you to join us. Regina Suit, our public policy chair and president, will be presiding over that event. And then at 2 o'clock, we are going to have a panel discussion that's going to be led by Dr. Megan McBride, who's a former adult learner and now is working on her second doctorate and the vice president for community college. And she is going to be interviewing some former adult learners about the return on investment into their life that adult education has deposited. So I encourage you to tune in for that. And of course, we're going to talk about the launch of the longitudinal study that COEB is going to be working on. And I just wanted to encourage you, if you did not have the opportunity to attend yesterday's session at 2 o'clock, we talked about the fact that there's a number of different kind of big players in the funding space right now for adult education, one of which is Department of Commerce. They have $500 million of funding for the Good Jobs Challenge and an additional $1 billion of funding for other challenges that they really feel are a good fit for adult education. So if you didn't have a chance to watch that live, you can go to our Adult Education and Family Literacy homepage. It is right there. You click the replay button and you can watch it. We will, of course, continue to push information out on this, but I wanted to also just mention that there was a number of other different initiatives we discussed too, like the Google initiative. We're in our third year of a partnership with them, our partnership with the National Governors Association and the wonderful opportunities there, and there are some, as well as U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So just wanted to mention, I highly recommend you go back and watch it if you didn't have a chance to watch it live. And then, of course, we have our Twitter storm that's been really successful. There's been so much activity on social media. So I want to encourage you that with 3 quick clicks, you can contact your legislator and really make an impact as we fight for funding at the federal level. And of course, we've had a lot of impact on social media. And I want to also thank Tyson for their role in this. They've been a great partner here too as well. Tomorrow is Fabulous Friday. We're going to Facebook Live with the fellows at 11 o'clock. We have our Legislative Leadership Awards at 1 and then the State Leadership Debrief at 2. So lots going on all week long. And thank you all for participating. So before we close it out, I'm going to turn it back to our friends at Tyson.
Sure. Thank you, Sharon. Man, what an action-packed week. I don't know how you ever sleep. There's just so much going on. I wanted to thank Peg for the shout out there for Vineland, and we will definitely contact you out there in New Jersey. So thank you for that email. And then wanted to remind everybody, I see another question here I'll get to, but ask upward at tyson.com if you're interested. And if you're interested in teaching, but if you're interested in just, asking us some more questions, we're open to that too. Our philosophy is all about really helping build the quality and presence of adult education. And if you're looking for someone to get on that bandwagon with, we'd love to talk with you about that. There was a question, how do you get credit for each class? I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I can tell you that what we do is have if the question has to do with like student tracking, we let our local schools, our adult education providers, use the tracking systems that they need to use, of course, to gauge performance and enrollments and contact hours and all those fun things. And then we also keep a record of who's attending in those programs, because we, if we start missing some students, we want to go track them down and find out where they are. And we've got a team that runs our student success work, and they will help build that retention back up into the program. So I think there's kind of two methods there for keeping up with students. And that's the great thing about this, is we have a lot of eyes on the classroom for support. And it's definitely, I used to teach in a company class, and that was very difficult. It was like Anson walking into a building, and nobody knew who I was, why I was there. I would go, some students would show up, but boy, if I had trouble, or even if the door was locked, man, I'm not going to be able to find someone to help me for 25 minutes sometimes, I remember, because there wasn't that supportive framework in the company when I worked there. It's not the case at working at Tyson. I mean, you're going to have this whole local support, and then you've got the team, Donna and I work on, that is working day to day on this kind of stuff. So we really, really appreciate it. Got some more messages here.
Here's a quick one, Anson,
mhm.
that was a little bit higher in the list and wanted to make sure we didn't miss it.
Sure.
And it's a question of, I think, a clarifying question about, so you are working through the AEL program in your district.
That's correct. I see that one up there. Thank you. Yes, we, everything is a partnership with a local adult education and family literacy provider. So we don't hire the teachers. We support that relationship with the adult education program. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One, it's a firm belief that we want to build a strong network that is local and in the community, because the students live in the community, and the students may go to that adult education class at night, or their kids may be in that public school during the day. And so there's a lot of kind of comfort, I think, and quality when you know that the college that you have in your community is also at your work site doing the work, and not some other group that's coming in. And it gives us a lot of durability also, because when we lose a teacher, and today we're here looking for teachers, but when we lose a teacher, we immediately call back to the school and say, hey, do you have another teacher? And of course, they might have 25 teachers teaching community classes. And they say, oh yeah, we could plug another one in here because this, we had to swap out teachers because of a change in the schedule, for example. So we get that durability, I think, in the local community. And then for us, it gives us some comfort in terms of the kind of consistency and quality. We know that if you're watching a co-wave webinar, that you're part of a group that's all in on adult education. And we know our AFLA providers and our local programs have really rigorous performance standards. I used to be a state director. I know what those standards are. I used to have to enforce them. So I know that if I go to Missouri, or I go to Nebraska, or if I go to New Jersey, or I go to Alabama, there's going to be this consistency in approach with local customization, but some consistency in approach and consistency in quality and performance. And so that's the other reason. So that community engagement, and then that level quality and level consistency, I think really helps us build a durable system across the country. Great questions. All right, I think that kind of wraps it up. I don't think we've seen any other questions come in, but I want to appreciate everybody and your contributions today. It's been really exciting. And if you have friends that missed this, or your boss needs to see this, by golly, Sharon's going to have this up there for us to watch and review. And that's the magic of doing these things. We can go back and check those things out that our schedules might not have allowed. We got a poll popping up here. All right.
Great. And I just want to again say, thank you so much to both of you and to all of you who've attended here. I'm seeing here that we have 86% are saying this exceeded their expectations. So
great.
Fantastic job, Team Tyson. And we're looking forward to the ROI piece. We'll put that out to the field. I also want to just put out there, so many of our members are teachers and administrators. So feel free to, post jobs, help wanted ads through COABE. We do this all the time for partners as well. So we're here to help you with that too. So thank you, Donna, and thank you, Anson. Thank you to all of our attendees. And we hope to see you guys later today at 1 o'clock for our legislative event.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye now.